Join me in welcoming, they don't need much of an introduction to this group. Great defensive line teammates at Baylor, 1988 to 1991. Great careers for both. Bring them on upstage. Robin Big Cat Jones and Santana Dotson. Grab a chair, whatever you want. Whatever you want. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Didn't quite finish my lunch, but...
I'm sorry.
Hey.
You want me to just keep making announcements?
No other announcements.
Most people want me to talk less, not more.
I was just getting to my reel.
Oh, man.
Oh well, okay.
I'm just happy to be here, man. So.
Just make sure Claude Lindsay doesn't grab those ribs off your plate. They should still be there when you get back. Yeah, or just eat while we're talking. The stage filled up a little bit with you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I mean that in a nice way. You know what I mean. Welcome to you guys. Appreciate you being here. Big Cat going into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations. What does that mean to you?
It is a huge honor. Everyone knows how much I love this university, and what it's meant to me and my family. And just for you guys to think about me 30 years later and say, you know what, he needs to be in here. And so it just means the world to me. And I really feel like I appreciate it more now being 50 than if I had been 25, 30, 40. So it's really a huge honor for me and the family, man. I appreciate it.
It's a great honor. Both you guys will be in there. That's great. Santana, I know you would second his induction into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it adds credibility to the institution of the Hall of Fame because nobody in my time, the 87 to 91, as far as teammates, worked as hard or harder or loved the University of Baylor as much as Robin Jones did. So I think it's long past due, and I'm excited for him. Excited. It's a party for everybody.
That's great. Congratulations. Party for everybody. We look forward to it. Induction banquet on November 22nd.
Yes.
So you're from Dallas, Hillcrest High School. Santana, great high school career at Houston Yates.
Yes.
One state championship or more than one?
One state championship.
One state championship at Yates. How did you guys end up at Baylor? I know you were very highly recruited. What was it that led you to come to Baylor?
It was like I had a praying mother, and so I always feel like God was in control of this thing. So when it first started happening, started receiving letters from everyone, you kind of all over the place. And then I remember Coach Freidenberg came by Hillcrest one day, and I'm like, all right, Baylor, okay, cool. And he actually met my wife now. In the hallway and asked her if she knew me, and she said, "Yeah, that's my boyfriend."
Coach Fred not missing any tricks there, right?
Yeah. He knew how to hone in, and so I mentioned that I had 5 visits. So I went to Nebraska, Texas, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Baylor. So after my first visit, though, I was coming back from Missouri, and I was sitting on an airplane, and Baylor's basketball team was on the plane. And so Michael Williams, who was playing for Baylor, came and sat next to me on the plane. And so he was telling me about Baylor and what it meant to him. So when I came back to Hillcrest, then I started seeing Coach Freidenberg again. And Freidenberg's whole thing was just come and see the campus. Just come down and see the campus. And I know now what he meant. Just come and meet the people. Just come down and see the people that you will be playing with and that you will be surrounded with. And then Oklahoma, Baylor, they were my final 2 charges. I really never liked Texas, to be honest. And so
we can. Yeah. You can say that in here.
Well, yeah. I'm amongst friends. We can do
absolutely.
That, right. And but the reason I visited Texas was the first coach to call me was Fred Akers after I tore my knee up. So he was the first coach to say, we're going to still recruit you. So I feel like I owed him that visit. So I went down there, but I really, but my heart was here, Oklahoma, and then Coach Taft, Coach Switzer, and I told Taft, you were an extension of my mom, and so.
Can't say no to that, can you?
So I'm not sure how smart I was to make this decision, but it was the best decision of my life.
Wow, sound very smart. Santana, you probably had a lot of options out of high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I was definitely highly recruited, and I would say the biggest, to piggyback what a lot of Robin said, the short of it was I know my family, as far as playing, I succeeded on the football field, but both of my parents were always like, yeah, but what else? You know, are you just that football player, or what else are you doing? You know, so, and I think I bought into that, or Grant Taft coming to recruiting, sitting in my parents' house, that a lot of their conversation in that hour and a half he was there was about what else, the what else of, you know, besides being a great football player, what Baylor and the coaching staff was going to present to me. So I think the what else conversation really sold me signing and getting up here to Waco.
Man, that's great. Robin, you tell a great story about Coach Fredenberg recruiting you and what a nice, gentle man he was. And then then you get to Baylor, and then you get out on the practice field. Tell everybody that story.
Yes, so...
You know what's coming, right? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so, you know, I knew I was highly recruited, right? I knew that a lot of people liked me, you know, wanted me on their campus and play for their school. And so I say, you know, all right, so this guy at Baylor likes me a whole lot. I actually say he loves me. And so I remember, you know, our first day coming to school, and my mom was over on campus doing things, and, you know, we went over to the stadium to kind of get, you know, I guess like your physical and everything. And I kind of started seeing some of the change was kind of happening gradually, where he wasn't as happy to see me. So after a few days, you know, once we started camp, and, you know, I was being coached. And then so I called Mom and said, Mom, that man has changed. He's not the same. He's not the same lovable man that used to come in the hallway, man. And you know, I thank God for that type of coaching. You know, Coach James. Coach James was you know, was an even keel guy. You know, he really never got too excited. He was kind of easygoing. But then you had Coach Fred that was like, you know, he wouldn't let you make for anything. I remember getting a sack against in Fort Worth, and I called it a fumble, so I jump up to count, you know, but the ball's still rolling around, right? And so I'm like, okay, we recovered. I roll on the sideline. I call it a fumble. And he greased me as I'm coming off, like, why? You know, I'm like, Coach, I just called. He didn't care about that kind of stuff, man.
That's great. He was a different man than the man that recruited you, right? That's great. And you guys, both of your coaches are here, Coach James and Coach Fredenberg. That's great that they would come and be here for this today.
Yeah, it's great for the coaches to come out. I mean, you see so many faces and people that, you know, you remember from my time or our time here in Waco, and you really just appreciate those times and those people that still, you always felt like, you know, I always felt like you always had their support and they were always with you. And this event that is however many years later just is proof of that, you know. But yeah, those coaches, they were kind of rough. But everybody's got those stories, right? Because I remember, like, when I came in at 17 years old as a freshman, Coach James, who was, you know, he recruited me in Houston out of Yates, and he was even killed. But at the same time, I recall one day during, I think we had 3-a-days our freshman year. Is that even, you can't, that's not legal anymore, coaches. Y'all can't do that. So we had 3-a-days, and I'm 17, and I've been highly recruited, and I wanted to sip Gatorade, and Coach James kind of walks over, and he's like, oh, so you don't really want to practice today, do you? And being 17 years old, I didn't realize that wasn't really a question that needed to be answered. But, you know, I'm 17. I'm like, yeah, coach, it's hot out here today, man. So he said, okay, everybody up. We all gonna knock the mess out of Santana till he feels like practicing. And I looked back there, that line had to be 15, 16 deep. I'm like, but I learned.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You showed up for practice after that, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't answer that question.
Yeah, don't answer. Did you guys know each other at all before Baylor, or when do you remember meeting each other when you got here?
So we did know each other. We had some of the same visits, but I don't think at the same time. And so I remember coming here on my first days, and I remember the name because his name is unique. And so I didn't know what kind of person he was. And I just feel like from day one, we just bonded. And haven't been apart since. You know, even though he's in Houston, I'm in Dallas, but, you know, I'm the godfather to his kids, and he's the godfather to mine, man. And we have been that close ever since, man.
Yeah, definitely. I remember we met our freshman, I think it had to be right before camp started, and we're sitting down talking to the coaches. Of course, you didn't think you were going to redshirt. We ended up redshirting, and we went through those highs and lows, of wanting to be the big men on campus, but, you're a freshman. But some of my biggest memories that freshman year was with Robin on the scout team. And I'm like, well, Rob, if we're not gonna play on Saturdays, I'm gonna get my game in today on Wednesday, Thursday practice, So we would tape up and we would do everything just like it was game day, and but it was fun, And then towards the middle of the season, I remember Coach Taft calling us over. It's like, hey, you guys, we're gonna be able to count on you guys, next year. So y'all go work with the defense a little bit, And I think he was like, y'all give my offense grief. So y'all give them the offense headaches, but y'all get out of here. But
that's a heck of a scout team.
But that was a good scout team.
Yeah, interesting. Where did who gave you the name Big Cat? Where did that start?
Coach John Goodner.
Coach Goodner.
Yes, John. So I came in as a 200, should have been 30-pound, but I was 250. I was a little soft. We didn't have a good weight program at Hillcrest High School at the time, but I had a little extra girth, kind of like I have now, and but I was still agile. So coach was like, "Man, you're big and agile like a big old cat," and it just kind of stuck.
It fits, man. It fits.
It does. It really, it fits. But I remember the one thing I want to say that I remember that our redshirt year, and we had a guy named Joel Porter, who was this preseason All-American. He was in all the magazines, and that's what I would always look at. And I remember we were going to run the scout team, he and I. Then I look up, and he's fighting Joel Porter. I said, man, this dude here is something else. So he didn't care about who was going to be what. He's like, man, if you're in front of me, it's on. So I learned a lot as far as competing from this guy. So yeah, he didn't care.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people that know me know my dad played for the Raiders, so that mentality of effort and attitude and not being concerned about the person you're playing or playing against, but just what you're bringing to the table every down, every play. So yeah, I showed up in Waco with that. So yeah, Joe was a great guy, but
yeah, it wasn't personal. It was just
it was like, hey, you lined up in front of me,
but
they shouldn't have did it.
Hands off JJ, right? Hands off of him, right?
Yeah.
We never got to hold JJ.
We used to love the scrimmage though. You could never really hit the quarterback.
No.
Oh yeah, we used to enjoy those scrimmage days. Those were the fun days because you get to the cafeteria, you get to talk a little trash. Whoever came out on top.
Yeah.
Speaking of girth, speaking of the cafeteria, so you came in, Robin, you came in as a linebacker, moved to defensive end.
Yes.
Santana, you were an end and moved to tackle.
Yeah.
Is that a product of the weight program here, Miss Betty, or how did that transformation take place?
For myself, it was just kind of like, I always kind of adapted the phrase of where's the trouble at, coach, because I want to be on the field. So I think I did pick up weight with the training program, but I think my first start, I was 230, 235. I wasn't quite 240 my first start. And I remember that was against Arkansas. They were coming off the Cotton Bowl, and again, they had two All-American guards that I lined up in front of. But my mentality was, if I'm going to get on the field, wherever the problem is, coach, just put me there, and I promise you, I'm going to try to fix it.
Yeah. And same here. Like I said, I was a linebacker, but I had knee surgery my senior year, so I really didn't have a good workout plan in the off season until I got here. So I came in soft, and so proper. Well, I didn't say proper eating then because we pretty much ate everything we wanted, as much as we wanted at the time. But we worked hard. I mean, we conditioned hard. I mean, we practiced hard, and. So I remember those guys that were on offense was like, "Hey guys, slow down. Y'all you're working too hard." No, we're trying to get you better. So our job was to make them better players, and it made us a better player. So we went to a movement of speed. So I moved some safeties up to linebackers to ends to tackle. So we kind of went like a quicker defense.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
You guys, as we talked about, you've stayed close through the years, and a lot of you and your teammates have done that. The fishing trips are kind of legendary each year with you guys. How did that start, those yearly fishing trips?
Yeah, I wanted a reason for us to come back together, and I'm always thinking about things. So I'm always, I love people. I love, my teammates, and I just got the idea. You know what? Let's charter a boat out of Galveston. They have those Galveston party boats, and let's charter a boat together and we all go out fishing. So we went from a 4-hour trip to an 8-hour trip, then moved to a 12-hour trip. Yeah, that 12-hour is something else. So, but I looked out there was Mike. It's funny because I was on the boat one. I said, man, that guy looked just like Mike Sims. And then somebody said, yeah. I said, it may look just like him. He said, oh no, that is Mike Sims. So Mike surprised me and came on the trip, man. It was great to have him there, man.
And that's what it gives you, is those moments, like those fishing trips. As you start looking back on your college experience and your experience on the next level, it's those moments that you have and those memories you create. And that fishing trip is definitely one of those moments where it gives us a reason to kind of slow down, because everybody has life going on, and kind of come together with those people that are very special and important to you, and creating more of those moments.
That's cool. Y'all have done that through the years. Let's go through some of the seasons and some of the games for you guys. During your time, I remember the defense was really dominant, okay? I'm not saying anything about the offense, but I'm saying the defense was really dominant during some of those years. 1989, there was a game when we lost to Rice 6-3. 6-3 was the final score. The headline in the Waco Trib, Jerry, was, "It doesn't get any worse than this." was what was the banner headline. But you guys...
Why, thank you, Jerry.
Yeah. Jerry didn't do the headlines.
My guy.
To make that point, Jerry didn't write the headlines. But, I mean, it shows you guys, the defense, you were doing your part, and the offense was coming along and had moments. That wasn't one of them. But you stayed together as a team, right? There wasn't any infighting between the offense and the defense.
No, not hourly, but I would say there was some frustration going on. But I remember Coach Freidenberg was telling us, hey, we have to score. We have to score. And then you will see James Francis block a field goal or block a punt. I mean, he would score. He would do something, to actually make us better on defense. And no matter what happened, we lost. We felt that. We felt the loss because we lost. But so we didn't point fingers, anything, but we kept working hard, just trying to get better, and just as much as we could, just shut down that offense as much as we could. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of the team aspect of it. Some games and some seasons you're gonna have to win a game 6-3, and some teams, some games you're gonna have to win a game 42-45. And the defense feels horrible about it. But at the end of the day, it's making sure that your opponent scores less than you score. Some wise guy somewhere said, okay, touchdowns are going to be 6 points and field goals are going to be 3. But at the end of the day, it's make sure your opponent scores less than you score. So, and even going back to that Rice game, we wouldn't feel upset with our counterparts on offense and be more so like, okay, well, how do we make sure Rice doesn't score 6 next time and 3 is enough to win the game? Right. What did we do wrong defensively to make sure that they don't score, because we got to come out with our share of victories.
That's a great approach. And was it the very next week that you went to Austin and won that game 50-7 the next week in Austin? First time Baylor had won in Austin in 38 years, and 50-7. Yeah, great win. And it was actually 50-0 for most of the game. Frank Fallon loved that game. He kept calling it 50-denarian. He'd say 50-denarian. He loved saying that. Yeah. And they scored late to make it 50-7. But again, that was the next week, and the offense got going. But you guys still did your part defensively. Yes.
I remember the year before. We came down as redshirt freshmen with the football team, and so Baylor lost that game against Texas in Austin. But I remember Coach Freidenberg's like, you know what? I can't wait to bring you guys back down here to Austin. And so that was us coming in as sophomores to compete. And I mean, it was 50 points, but really our defense dominated them. I mean, Robert Blackman and James Francis they were just amazing that game. And so from that time on in my life, when I go to Austin, I kind of have a little swag to me, like, this is, you're in my city. Yeah, this is my town right here, man. So,
you like you some Austin, though.
Yeah, when you want to go, so.
Yeah.
So, they don't mean anything to us at all, yeah.
And so Robert Blackman had 2 or 3 interceptions, a couple of them returned for touchdowns, right? So the 50 points wasn't all the offense that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even when the offense was scoring, I mean, we were putting them in position.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a totally dominant. And it's on YouTube, too, if anybody ever want to watch that game. Go check
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, if you ever bored, you can go on YouTube and watch that game. So it's pretty fun to watch.
50-7, final score.
Yeah.
Couple years later, 91, go to Colorado, play up there. Colorado's the defending national co-champions. They shared the national title with Georgia Tech and had a long winning streak, home field winning streak there at Folsom Field. You guys, what are your remembrances of that game?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that they were on it was a national spotlight game because they hadn't lost at home in 2 seasons, and we were the first ones to beat them at home after them coming off of a national title. So I recall, again, it was a close game, kind of going back and forth either way, and the ability for us to make that play at the end because they were going to go up, I believe it was more than 2 scores if they'd have got that field goal. And everybody talks about the big block on the field goal that our offense, again, had to get the ball, go down, and score for us to win the game. So it was a good team win, and I think it's a victory that a lot of the guys I played with take with them and take a lot of pride in.
You blocked the field goal attempt, right?
Yeah.
But you were right there. Did you sort of have a clearing block for him?
He says he pushed me and helped me, but
Well,
I
that's what I'm trying-
felt like he was tripping me to try to get me out the way.
That's why I got both of you here together. So I'm trying to get the real story of what happened on that.
Yeah, you know, my job, I was a lifter. And I really never knew why I couldn't be a slipper, but I was a lifter.
Was he a slipper?
He was a slipper,
I'm
yes.
a slipper.
Slipper.
I'm a slipper. He's a lifter. Big cat.
I should be
You gotta
slipping.
lift, man.
Yeah, so my job was to lift as he slipped. So, so of course he blocks the kick and the ball, like I said, went 40 yards down. It was like boom, and the ball's rolling. And I look up, and I mean he's running. We're all running, and I remember Brian Hand picked the ball up, and I wish Frankie Smith had picked it up because he would have scored. Brian Hand, yeah, he didn't get too far. Well, so we kind of had to leave it to the offense to kind of go a little farther and then kick the field goal.
You said it went boom. You heard boom. I remember 2 thumps. I remember boom, boom. You know, with a good block, you hear maybe the kicker kicking it. You hear that, but then when you hear the block off your forearm, I think. Yeah. So there was thump, thump, and it really did bounce back across midfield. Brian Hand chased it down, and then you guys drove down, and Jeff Ireland hit the field goal that won it 16-14. That was a great win.
It was. I mean, you know, even to this day, when I'm walking on campus, or even here for a game, or even in Dallas, I may see somebody in the mall, and they bring up that Colorado game. Yeah, and it was just a good experience for the kids from Baylor to be in Boulder, Colorado, and like I said, we had been in those games, but we never would win them. You know, so now to go up there and actually win one, and then for them to come back, and I remember flying in to Waco. It's funny because I had a Latin test that next week, so I was studying Latin, and then I was like, man, you've been on the same page all day, because I wasn't going.
That is some heavy study.
Yeah, it was
Latin.
Latin was tough. And Tommy Lou Davis was my professor then, and so I'm studying Latin. Everybody kind of celebrating. So we fly back in to Waco. Then I'm looking out the window, and then there were these little heads out the window. I'm like, wow, what's going on? And all the kids from Baylor campus had come to the airport. It was like after midnight, and they were there to greet us. So plane comes down, and they all run to the airplane. I'm like, wow, and there are TV cameras out there, man, and I still had that little Latin book in my hand, but I'm like, you know what? I think I made like a 39 on my test, too. I'm like, I should have been celebrating with everybody else, yeah.
What else is new?
That too, big cat.
Yeah,
but that crowd was great. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Students
I do remember
who were out
that.
there, and as you embarked off the plane, they were all right there at the bottom of the stairs.
It was an awesome win. It was an awesome victory. Like I said, being met at the airport, like those are one of the memories and the moments you take with you. Being able to bring it back. Because the year before, I think we played a close game with Nebraska, but came up on the short end. So, and the year before that, played another out of season or out of conference game. Mm-hmm. and we came up short on that. So to be able to do that our senior year against the defending national champions, that was a big deal. Yeah.
All right, so that's a couple of games that I'm bringing up. You guys give me one each. During your time here at Baylor, one that stands out, maybe you had a great game, it was a great win for Baylor, hope it is, but any particular come to mind?
You go.
First thing that comes to my mind is my senior year, University of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So being a Houston kid, you always take going home a little bit special. And at that time, I believe they were a top 10 or top 15 team, the run and shoot, David Klinger, and all that was going on. And I recall specifically going out for the coin toss. So a lot of these guys that I've known for the last 3-4 years, seen in Houston, seen at the All-American banquets, at the conference banquets, Klinger, Jerry Parks, a couple other guys, they refused to shake our hand at the coin toss. You know how you go out, hey, good to meet you, stay healthy. They refused to shake our hand, so that's why that game sticks out to me. And then walking back, my high school alumni had a big sign that said, Jack Yates supports Santana Dotson, and it was right by the band. Oh, so 2.5 sacks later, I was all over the place that game, but that's one of my biggest moments. I was like, okay. And I talked to Jerry Parks and David Klinger years later. I said, y'all should have shook my hand. It wouldn't have been as bad if you shook my hand.
Yeah. And I think for me it's opposite. I think it's when I had to grow up. And so, and I mentioned this to Coach earlier, but our freshman year I was a linebacker, and I'm starting, and he's starting at defensive tackle or defensive end maybe your freshman year. And so the whole week, Coach Fredenberg had said, "Hey, play hard, and we'll get someone in to relieve you, right?" And so we're playing hard, and Arkansas was physical. Like I said, they had All-American, All-Conference, and All-American linemen. Fullback was all conference, running back, they were just tough. So, and I'm a freshman, right? So we're playing, shoulders hurting. I mean, they're coming at me. So finally we get an interception. So Gary Joe Keeney's running the ball back. So as he's running, the ball is coming up. And now we're blocking for him, So ball's coming up, he fumbles. So now they get the ball. Now it's first down again for Arkansas. So I'm looking at Coach like, come get me. So I was like, stay your behind in there. It's time for you to grow up. I'm like, so that's when I knew it was all business now, man. Yeah. But it was nice to be, because there were great players on that sideline that could have came in and got me. But he told me, hey, stay in there. So I knew then he believed in me, man. So it was time for me to grow up for real.
Those are great memories. They really are. You guys in the NFL draft, you kind of slipped a little bit. I mean, you thought about coming out after your junior year, stayed in school, ended up being a 5th-round draft pick. Nothing wrong with that, but probably lower than most people thought. How'd you handle that?
Just kind of, I took my hard hat and my work ethic with me. I had an injury actually at Colorado game that slowed me for a few games and came on back, and I wouldn't have missed anything in my senior year no matter what. So people that know me, if I can walk, I'm going to play. So that was part of it. But I just took my worker's hat with me, and just like there was a Joel Porter here that I went against every day, a 5th-year senior. When I went to Tampa Bay, I was drafted by Tampa Bay in the 5th round. So I remember making sure I lined up. There was a 1st-rounder from the year before that played offensive guard. So every day I lined up on him, because I'm like, when those coaches go in that meeting room, they're going to know they got a bargain at the 5th round, And before you know it, later on that season, I was Rookie of the Year. So, and I always tell kids now, it's not where, the draft is like an invitation to a party. Do you care if you got the 1st one or the 20th one? At the end of the day, you're at the party. And if you're going to stay, you got to, do what you need to do to stay.
And 11th round pick for you?
Yes, exactly. 11th round pick, and like I said, I found that I felt some feels at the combine from the little gimpy knee that I had, and so went to the Falcons. I remember we actually played them in camp. So yeah, we had a game, and so it was kind of funny for me to see him coming out, because we actually played in Tampa. So I'm on the field first, and here he comes running out. He's like foaming at the mouth. I'm like, hey, that's my That's my.
I'm in my pregame.
Yeah,
I'm in
I'll
my
see you after
pregame. Don't talk to me right now. See you afterwards.
Yeah, I want a hug, man. It's your boy.
Not right now. Not right now.
Yeah. So, and he actually got a interception. Was it like a
It was an interception.
Yeah, an interception, man.
Man,
And,
you got good memory. Yeah, it was an interception.
yeah. So, but yeah, I was proud of him, man. And I ended up getting released that year, and I went to Tampa, Denver, Minnesota. Couldn't pass the field goal anymore, and so I just kind of hung it up. But I was there supporting him. I used to go to Tampa, hang out with him, and go watch him play. And we had Frankie Smith and somewhere else playing. So it was, I've always been very, very happy for all of my friends, man. I always know that God has a plan for us all, and so it was an enjoyment to watch them. I was watching a football game one time and they were playing Detroit. You did something. Did you get another fumble recovery? Someone's running, and they broke through the game. Like, oh man, that's my guy.
Oh, touchdown.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. He got a touchdown. Yeah. So like I said, there is never been any animosity towards that at all. It's always been love, man. I appreciate it. Him doing what he did.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. When you go, you understand that you're representing more than just yourself, whether it's family, friends, the community, the coaching staff, the training staff. You feel like I always felt like I was bringing all those folks with me in support, definitely.
Santana, from Tampa Bay to the Packers. You had great success with the Packers. Won a Super Bowl over the New England Patriots. Congratulations on that.
Yes.
Thought you might break out that Super Bowl ring.
I should have. I didn't want to,
Yeah.
too flashy.
Which is about as big as that table,
Yeah.
probably. What was that like to be a part of a Super Bowl championship team?
It was good. A lot like my college experience, when you go different places from Tampa to Green Bay, you have a real appreciation for the standard that's set in front of you. So I do recall, my first year in Green Bay, you had guys like Bart Starr, who passed this year, and Willie Davis, all these names and guys that played in Super Bowl I and II. It had been a long stretch of 20 or so years since Green Bay had gotten back into that winner's circle. So I recall, guys, when I met them, Bart Starr in particular, after the first week, and he was sitting in like a kid at Christmas. He was so excited. He came up, gave me a hug, like, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so happy that Green Bay's winning again, And then the next day, I go into the coaches' meeting, and the coach is really like, okay, we won this game, but we always got to get geared towards the next game. There is no logical next step. So everybody, even Bart Starr, saying that you guys will be in the Super Bowl, there's still a track or a marathon you have to do to get there. So just finally getting there, and originally I was born in New Orleans. The game was in the Superdome in New Orleans. So again, coming back home and being supported by family and friends, that was a major accomplishment.
How great is that? They love you in Green Bay. You have done broadcasting up there. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I still do a weekly radio show that goes on twice a week.
That's great.
That's great. The thing about reporting is you're never wrong, right, Jerry? Even if you say it's not going to happen and it happens, well, I know I said that, but here's why it happened. Here's why I really wasn't going to be wrong. So I think it really works, and I've had one of the longest running radio shows of any Packer player because of those things. And then I'm always kicking a story or two about my silly kids or something like that. They like that part of it.
That's cool. You're really good at that. Robin, you had a unique opportunity. You were with Michael Johnson and Coach Clyde Hart a lot when they were touring around and Michael was winning gold medals. What was it like to be a part of that entourage with them?
Yeah, first of all, it was all the hard work. If anyone knows Michael Johnson, he's a type A personality person. So I was with him every day, all day. And so after a while, I was like, hey, man, anything else you need? All right. So, and you gotta know, for football players' mentality, we kind of think we like run things, right? And Mike's a track guy, so we're like, hey, man, do you need anything else from me, right? And so it was great to be there with him, man. It was huge. I remember being there at the Olympics in Atlanta, and and I had traveled for a while, so I met people from Cuba and on different countries, and so at the Olympics, the hosting country is the last team to come out. So every time they change country, they'll change theme songs come out. So I remember seeing that American flag coming up the hill, man, and then that flag, the music changed, and it was just like, man, gave me goosebumps. So just to see that flag come and hear all these people that I had been traveling with, man, and it was just a great experience, man.
Which Olympics would that have been?
96.
96, Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So Michael did pretty well in Atlanta.
Yes.
Won the 200, 400 double there. He's on the victory stand. You're right there.
Crying like a baby.
I'm crying like a baby. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting at home just crying like a baby watching the national anthem play and Michael Johnson getting gold medal. How did you handle that?
Cry like a baby. Cry like a baby, because it had been so much hard work. And, it's even him, I learned a lot from him. I mean, Michael is real focused. I mean, he was very mature for his age, man. And I was just amazed how focused he was. And then, to be there with Coach Hart and, mapping out our route, which way we're going to go. And the bum happened right outside the hotel. So I got a call. I was laying down, and I get a call from Chicago saying that, hey, they're a bum in Atlanta. And then I'm like, what? So I turn on CNN. I'm in the CNN Omni. So I turn on CNN, and people right outside my hotel room. It's like mayhem. I'm like, wow, this is right outside the room. And so the Olympic Park was right there. So that kind of changed security. They got a little stricter on us. So anytime we came in, they would search our cars with the military, with the little mirror on the car and the whole deal, man. So it kind of made it a little bit more challenging for us, but we've made it through.
All right, we need to wrap things up here. Both of you guys have talked about your love for Baylor and your coaches that you played for here, and that kind of showed in another way. You both have had daughters come through Baylor and graduate from Baylor. Was that a good experience for both of them?
Yes, very much so. I remember, the only school that she ever wanted to go to was Baylor. And I remember we went down to Mary Hardin Baylor, see Coach Fredenberg and all that. And then I was even in a box with Drayton McClain that game. So they really set it out for us. My daughter was like, I don't even know why you have me here. You know where I'm going. I'm like, no, but this is a good school. Just look at it. It was a beautiful campus and everything. And so I remember, bringing her here the first day, and then they handed me the bill, like, this is how much you owe. I'm like,
the party's over. Just like your first practice as a freshman, right? The party's over. I don't think these people like us.
It's your boy, man. You sure this is what's up?
You sure this is my bill? How many zeros?
Yeah, exactly.
There's people in the room that can relate to that, what you're saying, so.
Yeah, so I look at her like, baby, you're not going to make it. Yeah, so all the money that I got on scholarship here, I paid it all back times. Yeah, so they invested in me. Yeah.
Santana, you had your daughter ran track here at Baylor.
Yeah, she was participating in track with the track club. She was a thrower, and she always, she was one of my kids that always wanted to go to Baylor. They particularly always remember like the trips back. And Baylor always does a good job. Like, the kids used to go on the field and throw the ball after the games. So my kids always participated in that when we would come back. So they enjoyed coming back for the games, and my daughter enjoyed her four or so years here.
That's great. Well, you guys are great. You're great representatives of Baylor, and you're fun to talk to and hear stories about it. You've got that bond, between you, and I know it's not just you two, it's your other teammates as well. But you've got that bond that was forged here at Baylor in those 3-a-day practices. Now we don't even have 2-a-days, right? But, it's something that has lasted and will last a lifetime for you guys. So proud of you and what you did here, what you've done since your time at Baylor. And we appreciate you coming back and sharing with us today.
Definitely. And let me say this, too. A lot of times you don't realize the gifts you're getting as you're going through the process. And teachers, coaches, those mentors are really big for kids at those ages. Because when you look at it, how much time do we spend with our parents as high schoolers? You spend a couple hours in the waking moments in the mornings getting ready for school and a couple hours at night. But where we're sending our kids to our teachers, our coaches, is a big deal because they're shaping characters, they're shaping mentalities, they're structuring us and giving us the armor that we need as we go out into the community. So if nobody's told the coaches thank you, let me say thank you, and especially to the professors and everybody else during my Baylor 4 or 5 years here, because you definitely gave me the armor and got me ready, gave me everything I needed to go out and excel in the community.
Sure. And the same here. I'm sorry, you can give him a round of applause. Yeah. But same here. I want to thank Coach Taft, Coach Franberry, Coach James, Coach Lane, because not only were they good coaches, but they were great men, and they're strong fathers. And so it's a blessing to be, because I didn't have a father coming up. So just to see how, the way they love on their kids, and Taft had that environment that they were able to still spend time with their kids. So I think that was important. And so I just thank God for you guys. And like I said, I wasn't smart enough to make this decision on my own. So, but I'm glad that I took a chance, and you guys took a chance on me.
We thank God for you guys too, and proud that you're Baylor Bears. You always will be for the rest of your life. And again, great representatives of Baylor and Baylor football. And thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Robin Jones, Santana, Dotson, our lunch with a legend.
Thank you.